Hi, we have Professor Ioannis Kanellos from Telecom Bretagne, France. Hello, Yannis.
Hello, Yorgos.
Very nice to have you here.
Nice to
It's
meet
been
you.
an honor for us.
And for me.
You just mentioned in your talk some very interesting system that has to do with storytelling in cultural heritage applications. So I want you to elaborate a little bit about your system and what the benefits you believe are for the people in the heritage sciences, and what do we expect for the museums or maybe for the general public?
Well, what we expect is not always directly dependent on what we do. It's more complex in our...
I can buy that.
Yes, thank you very much. You have a 10% reduction at least. While working in this area, which is the mediation, where mediation is implied, first of all, and second is whatever we have cultural and educational contents, my personal thought goes to investigate the possibilities of taking advantage from a pedagogical point of view of all those technology who are very interesting, of course. In this conference, for instance, we saw many devices, many conceptions, many realization applications. So it's very interesting. So the question is, what are we going to do with all that? The conception has to serve a pedagogical argument. And this is the main point, the start point of what we developed. It was not only me, it is a long work. We started with really Greek monastery, the north of Greece, and then we extended it through several PhDs and engineers who worked to this project. The idea is to tell a story, because to tell stories and to hear stories seems to be the second more important thing in the life of human beings. The first one seems to be feed, the food, to find food. Sometimes we said that it's more important is to have a home. But now we say more frequently that the second need of the human being is to communicate, of course, to tell stories and to receive stories. Our rationality, our comprehension relies on the ways of telling and receiving stories. So the question is it possible when I have to show something, I have to transmit something, I have some content to give to some people, is it possible to make stories? Trivially, the answer is yes, of course. But on the other hand, and immediately, we understand that every story is not the adapted story for everyone.
For everyone. So you are trying somehow to, let's say, make the stories modular.
Yes, this is
so
exactly.
That they are able to be told in another way.
Yes, the system gives the opportunity to adapt a story, to first of all to structure it, and then to adapt it to different profiles. When you talk to your children, you are not talking when you have a conference, or now you're not going to talk in the same way.
Well, we can say a story.
This is a story. What we do here is a story. This is a story. We talk about what we developed. So it is in narration about what we did. Perhaps there will be people that do not understand it. Perhaps there will be others who will find it very trivial or low level.
This is very important that you mentioned that right now we are doing something like storytelling. So do you think is there a way that we could do this interview in a way that it could be used in your system? Should we shoot again and again?
I can immediately show you how it is
Okay.
done. But it is, of course, a story. We have a situation, we have
Yes.
roles, we have other roles there, our friends, who are not going to see them in the same framework. Yes, of course, it is a story. And for someone to understand this story, has to, first of all, understand the conditions. What are we doing? We are in a genre. I mean, it's not a literal genre, but we are in a genre, a semiotic genre. It's called interview, for instance. We are talking about things. Sorry.
What should we do to make this interview adaptable to various, let's say, audiences?
Well,
should we shoot again and again parts of this interview?
Yes, in the spirit of what we developed, we should, for instance, take our interview and planify it in 2, 3, 4, or 5 different ways. For instance, we are addressing, for instance, students of that level. So we're not going to be very technical. We're going to talk about general ideas. Now we're going to talk about students that are doing masters or PhD or whatever concerning
so you have to raise the
cultural
level
heritage. And then to specialists where we can talk, of course, about the development, about design,
future
programming,
plans, all that.
Yes, etc., etc. So in this way, we can take all these parts and concatenate them in order to make a bigger story that will be adapted to different profiles. So if we want, for instance, to show this same video, we are going to show it, but respecting the spectators, the audience generally. This is the main idea. So to do it, we tried to develop a general system that may be applied to every or perhaps
many cases.
Many cases.
So it seems hard to me how you can actually combine the parts. There has to be some intelligence there. How do you combine various parts of media into one like seamless video or a presentation?
Well, a basic property of narration is linearity. You have to start for the first element, the second element, the third element. But you can always add elements, substitute elements, but you have to say the same story. The problem is, first of all, to have a general schema of the story.
Yes.
Then you say, I'm going to start with an introduction, for instance. Then I'm going to talk about that, and then a conclusion. So you say, well, this part, I'm going to take perhaps something that will address that kind of public. The other one, no. So you try, anyway, any author, when he or her writes, thinks about someone who is going to read him. Every way we have, even if it is completely imagined, the idea of someone who is going to read us.
Yes.
So the system works like if you have a super PowerPoint where you can put everything, every resource that might be video or text or image or a sound file, and you can concatenate them.
Okay.
So by using this video that have been made for specific auditories, you may adapt always the same story to different public. And this is so a general platform how to make stories and how to support stories. Eventually, perhaps these stories are not complete stories in the sense of an achieved film or a fairy tale, for instance. But the concatenation of all these elements gives grounds to a discourse for someone who can make a presentation. And to come back to your question, yes, of course, all these videos we do here, we can also cut them and rearrange them in order to say things, even things contrary, exactly contrary.
Yes, contrary.
What we are
Okay.
talking about.
That would be interesting.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ioannis, for being here.
It is my pleasure, and I hope to see you again later. And
In another event in 2 years for the next conference.
Or the next conference of the school. And
Okay.
I have a real pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.